Welcome to another episode of Ship of War, my review of Oz the Great and Powerful.
Ship of War. When ship happens, I'm there.
Now before I continue on to my review, I just want to warn you guys, this is going to be a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you stop this video now. Now for those who haven't seen the movie and want to be spoiled, then continue on. So with that said, my review of the Oz the Great and Powerful. Now this movie takes place, or at least the story in the movie takes place 39 years prior to The Wizard of Oz. Now I assume this because right when the movie starts, after going through the credits of everybody that's in the movie, which I have to say, the animation with the credits before the movie was pretty damn intense, especially in 3D. I saw this movie in 3D, and I'm one of those people who doesn't like 3D, but I have to say, this is by far the best 3D I've seen in a while. And that's rare because I normally don't like 3D, but if there's some good 3D, I will compliment a movie for having good 3D, and this movie definitely had some good 3D. So with that said, yes, the movie starts in 1905. Now, I'm gonna believe they're taking the timeline of when the original Wizard of Oz came out, which was 1939, and then just going by that timeline rather than going the actual timeline of the book. So yeah, so this movie takes place then, and it starts off in a way that we get introduced to Oz and the type of person he is, and then not only that, we get introduced to another character during this timeline that plays a very important role in the actual Wizard of Oz. I mean, this person who Oz is speaking to is a very important character. You know she's important by her name, and she talks about she's getting married, and the man she's getting married to is a very important character because these two characters create this child who then becomes a very important character to the Wizard of Oz. And that's as far as I'm going to go with that. So that off the bat, I was like, okay, I'm feeling this movie. They're starting off on a good foot, and I'm enjoying it. So the movie continues on, stuff happens, Oz ends up in the land of Oz, and he meets Mina Kunis' character, who is a witch. And I have to say, when I saw her, I was like, I hate you, IMDb. I hate you so much. Because I was spoiled with IMDb. For those who don't know, Mina Kunis plays the Wicked Witch of the West. Yeah. And I had no idea. I had no idea. I saw the trailer and I had no idea. I didn't piece it together until I went to IMDb and they freaking spoiled it right there on the casting list. And I was like, you know what? I hate you guys, because now I'm going to sit through this whole movie watching her being this nice, sweet person and knowing that she's going to end up becoming a green witch who is a biatch. You know? And that really ruined it for me. And I wish I didn't know that, because the way they explain why she becomes that is almost cliche. It's actually really cliche how she ends up becoming a witch and why she becomes a witch. But I would have rather been surprised by that, in a sense, than just knowing off the bat that she was going to become the Wicked Witch of the West. So that was disappointing. But I have to say, Mina Kunis was pretty enjoyable. She took me off guard because I'm not used to seeing her in more of a dramatic role. She's more of a very fluffy, funny type of person, almost raunchy, dirty, watch your mouth type of actress. So it was very interesting to see her in this movie that's very childlike. It's a very childlike movie. It's just like Wizard of Oz. It's very campy, and you know it's obviously for children, and yes, adults can enjoy it, but this movie is obviously made for just children and not so much for adults. So it was very interesting to see her in this role, and her playing this sweet, innocent, almost very naive type of character, and how she progresses into something that's so evil and mean and heartless. And it was an interesting transformation to see her do that. Now, James Franco, I have to say, when he was cast, I was like, why? Why did they cast him? Because personally, James Franco, the only movie I've ever really liked him in was Pineapple Express, and that's because he plays a pothead. He plays a great pothead. But outside from that, any other movie he's ever really been in, I haven't been crazy in love with any of his roles. So seeing him being cast as Oz is big and powerful character kind of put me off by his casting. But I have to say, he did a decent job. If he was an annoyance throughout this movie, I would probably really dislike this film, but he was contained in a way that I was able to be satisfied with his character and his role in this movie. Now we have Michelle Williams, who I personally really like. I followed Michelle Williams for a very long time. Like, she was on Dawson's Creek, which I watched, and I seen a lot of her previous movies when she was younger. Like that Lassie movie, you guys remember that one? No? Species, maybe? She was the species creature when she was young. Anyways, so I've seen Michelle Williams go from this little girl who can hardly act to this woman who surprises me all the time. And I have to say, I really enjoyed her in this movie, her playing Glenda the Good Witch. And it was very enjoyable because she did a really good job with it. I have to say, I'm not disappointed with her as Glenda. She did an excellent job playing this, you know, sincere, soft-spoken, nice person thing, the witch of the South who is good. Now, Rachel Weisz, I have to say, I really liked her character. And if they ever do another film after this, I would love to see what the Wicked Witch of the East is really like. Because we never really see her in The Wizard of Oz. All we see is her feet and then they curl up. The other person I want to talk about is Zach. Oh my god, I forgot his last name. The guy from Scrubs. Oh fudge, I forgot his name. But that guy. He is the movie in a sense because he plays this monkey character in the film that follows Oz everywhere he goes, and he has these wings, and he has some of the funniest scenes and lines in this film. By far, he makes the movie. I loved his character. He was by far the best character in this movie, hands down. He was basically what the Scarecrow was in The Wizard of Oz. Yeah, if I have to compare him to anybody, that's who he was. The only downfall I have to say about this movie that I don't really, there's actually a handful of things I really was disappointed with this movie, was due to this movie having issues with copyright and stuff like that, because Warner Brothers still has the rights to The Wizard of Oz. There was a lot of elements, there are very important elements that weren't implemented in this movie because of that whole Warner Brothers having the rights to certain things that were created just for the original movie. So there was things that they had to switch around, especially when it came to the witches. Mainly when it comes to the witches. My gosh. There was this one element that I was looking forward to seeing in the movie that wasn't there because of this issue that they have no rights to have their hands on a certain element. Thing. Shoes. The other thing I didn't like about the movie that I never really liked, but I hoped and wished it was in the movie, was singing. There was no singing in this film. What made The Wizard of Oz was the singing. We're off to see The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Yes, that stuff. This is stuff that you remember from The Wizard of Oz. And that wasn't in this film. I mean, there was one singing sequence in the film and it was completely, like, cut short. Like, they didn't want to have singing in this movie. It would have been pretty awesome if this was also a musical. Now, the other thing that I have to say I was disappointed with, I don't know if it has to do with the fact it had to do with the whole IMDb thing, but I was disappointed with the Wicked Witch of the West and how she became the Wicked Witch of the West, and the reason why she became the Wicked Witch of the West, because it was very cliche, and I was hoping there was more depth to it. But really, it became a very cliche reason why she becomes the Wicked Witch of the West. And it's kind of one of those cliches that make women look bad. It makes like women are just weaklings and they are willing to become something bad because some man didn't freaking like you. Whoopie-doo. Whoopie-doo. But yeah. That I really did not like. But overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I had a fun time watching it. This movie is definitely more geared to children. But I would definitely recommend this movie to anybody who loves The Wizard of Oz. If you love Wizard of Oz, this movie right here, you are going to enjoy this movie. If you've seen Wicked, I suggest you go see this movie too. I'm going to see Wicked this Thursday, so I'm looking forward to that. This is my week of Oz, as I want to call it. So that is all for this episode of Ship War. Goodbye, and until next time. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Now, I know that I said that Bridesmaids Up was a mid-season finale for Beauty and the Beast, but I was wrong about that. I assumed it was because it had a cliffhanger and then there was a long break, so I thought it was a mid-season finale. But apparently, Tough Love was the season finale of Beauty and the Beast. It's really didn't leave with a cliffhanger, it just left with something happening, which was kind of a cliffhanger, but it left basically Beauty and the Beast fans very